Howdy, everybody. Hope you're doing well tonight. I have had a bit of a day, but what else is new? I have a new webcam, so hopefully the age of camera delay is done. Oh yeah, that's nice and crisp. I've got my mug of blood, by which I mean I'm drinking a tea that's called Vitae. Hope everyone's had a nice weekend. It's been interesting over here. Found out that my washer might be broken, so that's fun. It's funny, I got home after going grocery shopping, and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna make food for lunch and dinner tonight. Then I had to pail all the water out of my washer, and I was like, no, I think I'm gonna run out and get a sandwich. So I ran out and got a sandwich. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for some more Tyrion Cuthbert. So let's see what our last case has in store for us. There we go. Still figuring out positioning for the camera. There we go. There's some headroom. Alright, one case left. Case number 5. I don't believe that we will be completing this case tonight. I've killed people. They were usually criminals or bandits, but it still frightened me how unaffected I was by their deaths. It always came so easily to me. I was good at it. A little too good. People told me that taking the lives of others would be hard, but I never felt that uneasiness. Not even once. Maybe think that I was some kind of unfeeling monster. And maybe I am. But the time I spent with you... Is this Celeste? But the time I spent with you filled me with more happiness than I could have ever dreamed of. Instead of taking lives like this is Celeste, I could save them alongside you. It felt good to protect you. I felt needed when I knew you were relying on me. It made me feel like I was actually worth something to someone. Whenever I saw the light in your eyes, it filled my heart with a warm feeling that I've never felt before. But it was too good to be true, wasn't it? In the end, I failed you. I couldn't protect you, just like I couldn't protect my father. Don't understand. What did you ever see in someone like me? What? DJ, run that shit back. Tyrion? You still haven't gotten out of bed yet. It's almost noon. Ooh, this is a new place. I think I just want to rest today. You've been saying that for the last 10 days. Someone's actually here to see you. You should really get out of bed. Is it Tamora? No. I'm still not really in the mood. Can you just send them away? It's a bit rude, but I suppose I can overlook it this time. Is it Steelwind? As the prosecutor enters your room, you immediately leap out of your bed. You try to futilely clean your unkempt hair, but you're just making it worse. Tyrion, pants! Right, sorry. We'll give you some time to ready yourself. Okay, interesting. I knew he was in a rut, but I certainly didn't expect this. I know, I'm really worried about him. Hi, Pucas. Hi, Tej. Well, I empathize with his situation, but it's been a month already. Have you tried speaking with him? He has opened up to you before. I did, but I think he's really broken up over what happened with Ruby. I'm taking you with me to get groceries after dark, alright? She's basically the closest thing he had to family. Well, you see, perhaps he just needs more time. After taking some time to make yourself presentable, you exit your room to greet the prosecutor properly. Sorry about that. No. I suppose the fault is mine. I shouldn't have intruded. Anyways, what brings you here? It's a fantasy novel you've been reading through. Recently you've had a lot of time to read through your collection. Did you read that mystery novel I lent you? I did, but I kind of guessed the twist from the beginning. What? How? The author called a lot of attention to the vials she dropped. It's pretty obvious the nurse accidentally switched them. I guess fiction can't beat a real murder investigation for you. It's a stairway leading to the second story of your home. You haven't cleaned up the upper floor in a while, so it would probably be best to make sure Steelwind doesn't wander up there. I have a home? Oh, remember when I helped you move this bed from the flea market? Right. You recall her doing most, if not all, of the work. You didn't even know that carrying a bed single-handedly was humanly possible. You are Celeste and I living together? No magic in our house. Are you doing well, Mr. Cuthbert? You seem... I'm fine. Of course. We just couldn't help but notice your absence. You haven't taken any of their clients since Beatrice's trial. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not even sure if I want to be a defense attorney anymore. What? I've spent my whole life training to be one, but I was only doing it because someone else told me to. Did you not enjoy it? You are very skilled at it. I don't know. I've been trying to take some time to think about everything, but you still haven't found any answers. If you consider becoming a prosecutor, your time as my stand-in made it clear you have the ability to. A prosecutor? You would have never even considered that a year ago. But you understand now. There are criminals who need to be brought to justice. Despite how difficult she is to face, Steelman never engages in outright corruption like the other prosecutors of the Crown. If you follow her example, you could fight injustice that way. But even if you did that, you'd just be following someone else's footsteps, just like before. I'll think about it. Please do. At this point, I could use all the help I can find. Have your injuries been healing well? Yes, Nightgrave's skill in necromancy is quite remarkable. I'm glad I introduced him to House Asclepius. Asclepius? House Asclepius specializes in the study of necromancy. After Nightgrave's expulsion from the academy, I thought it was only right he be allowed to continue his studies. Right, he mentioned he owed you a favor. It's only logical. It'd be a waste to let something of his talents fade into obscurity. I'm glad Wallace was able to continue his studies. He clearly wants to use his talents to better society. It's definitely a better place than you are right now. Even so, should you still be moving around like this? You should take some time off to recover. As much as we would like to, there's been a recent uptick in cases of mage blight lately. Mage blight. I recall hearing about that many times. If a mage exceeds their stamina by overusing their magic, it starts to affect their mind and send them into a violent frenzy. To make matters worse, the nobility has been trying to suppress information about these incidents. Right, it's not a good look whenever a mage goes on a murderous rampage. I was actually surprised to see you here, Celeste. Well, I can't just leave him alone anymore. He ticked off a criminal overlord. They're definitely going to send someone after him. And he can't really take care of himself right now. Celeste, your thoughts are leaking. Hey, get out of my head! What? It's nothing. I am surprised, though. Not many people slight the Eye Taker and live. He's known for taking swift retaliation against his enemies. We're hoping he's laying low after his plan with Beatrice fell through. It does match with the reports we've read. Supposedly he's been absent from many of his enterprises. Or he's dead. Either way, we're not looking forward to dealing with him. It's bad enough you're already on the nobility's bad side. By the way, Tyrion, Ruby sent another letter. Do you want to put it with the rest? Right. Have you spoken to her since the trial? I see. That does explain her recent mood. Right, you two probably see each other a lot. We've prosecuted a few of her clients recently, but it's clear she's not nearly as threatening as before. Could we talk about something else? Of course, my apologies. Oh, the tea is ready. That it is, Celeste. That it is. Oh, thank you. Some tea sounds lovely right now. Right, I was totally making it for you guys. She walks to the cabinet in your kitchen and takes out 2 more teacups. You guys better enjoy this. These are my last bags of... Whoa! She walks over to you. She slips on a scroll case you left on the floor. She regains her balance, but the teacups slip out of her hands. The boiling liquid is airborne and heading right towards your face. And Steelwind's going to cast a spell to stop it. Oh! Celeste is going to cast a spell to stop it. Celeste reacts immediately and points her index finger at the tea. Her magic takes hold and the tea reaches inches above from your face. She breathes a sigh of relief and brings the tea back into their cups. You really need to clean this place. I'm your bodyguard, not your maid. Right, sorry about that. That was shaped liquid, wasn't it? Yeah. Huh. Oh, I never expected you to... I know, but it's just too convenient. Oh, right, that's the spell that killed her dad. I knew it was one of the cases. I forgot that it was that case. I know, but it's just too convenient not to have. She's really opened her mind about learning new spells. You remember when you first met her? Back then, she only knew how to cast Mage Blade. She hated magic back then. Never imagined how diverse her repertoire would become. Another visitor? I'm already up. I'll check it. Well, whoever they are, I'm not giving up any more of my Lotus tea. You open the door and don't see anyone, but there's a letter in your mailbox. Take a closer look at the envelope. It's sealed with candle wax. There's a crest on it. It's the insignia of House Pierce. Quickly open the letter and read it. Despite supposedly being written by a noble, the paper's been torn in half, but the message is clear. Fuck, what was this guy's voice? Snooty British, I think? I hope you understand. I would have never contacted you unless I had no other choice. I know the truth behind McCoy's true parentage, and I'm aware of how vital this information is to you. As you know, my execution is scheduled for next month, and I'm running out of time. I want to trade this information with you. In exchange, you will grant me my freedom. Meet me in the private prayer room within the Grand Cathedral of the Scaled Lord at 2 p.m. You will save me from my fate, or else. What? Oh boy. If he thinks for a second we'd even think of helping him. I know how you feel, but aren't these the answers you've been looking for? I don't care. We're not going to help him. That was never an option, but there's clearly more to this. We agree. How was he able to find out in the first place? Truth is, Celeste, we've also been looking into your parentage. What? Why didn't you say anything? I'm sorry, but I didn't want to raise your hopes. I was apparently right to do so. I couldn't find any information regarding your birth. So if you couldn't find anything... how was Pierce able to? House Pierce is low on the political hierarchy. He doesn't have access to the resources I do. He does own the land McCoy Tavern is on. But frankly, this whole situation is quite suspect. And why would he ask for my help? I was the one who indicted him in the first place. Even if I did agree to help him, it would be nearly impossible for me to get him an acquittal. He must be desperate. His execution is scheduled for next month, after all. It's possible he reached out to Tamora as well. Still, I can't believe he'd set up a meeting at the Grand Cathedral today of all days. Why? What's happening there? I'm sorry, but it's not my place to tell you. Arya, can I talk with Tyrion alone for a minute? Of course, I'm sure you have much to discuss. I actually have business at the cathedral today. Can't believe you'd use that as an opportunity. Is it her wedding day? I feel like she's getting married today. We'll be taking my leave. I'm sorry, I'm sure this is just bringing up bad memories for you. We should meet with him. What? We're not going to help him, obviously, but I had an idea. He's probably really scared of execution, right? If he's desperate enough to ask you for help. I suppose that's true. So, think about how stressed he would be if you showed up and refused to help him. I could use the Eye of Horus on him. We can get the info we need without having to give him anything. But are you really okay with this? You'll have to see him again. Yeah, I'll manage. And it'll be worth it if we can finally get the answers I'm looking for. We've already gotten our hopes up, but there's no guarantee that he actually knows the truth. He could just be bluffing to get you to help him. But if he does know, you can't just ignore this. You need to verify his claims yourself. So this is the Grand Cathedral of the Scaled Lord. Have you never been here before? I thought you spent a lot of time in Ratholm. The Church of Bahamut wasn't that popular in my hometown. I've never been the religious type. What about you? It never really caught on with me. And apparently my roots are more celestial than draconic. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. He certainly has the looks for it. Ooh! Is my beauty angelic, Celeste? Your thoughts are leaking again. Can you stop? I can't exactly turn it off, you know. To those mental exercises I taught you. Ugh. So you approach the Grand Cathedral. You see a large blockade guarded by legions of the Kingsguard. It's closed off. Is there some kind of event going on? You recall Steelman mentioning that she was heading here as well. The nobility must be using the cathedral grounds for something. Might explain why Pierce wanted to meet you here. It's probably secluded from prying eyes today. Tyrion, Cuthbert. As you approach the blockade, one of the knights notices you. He glances at you and Celeste. We've been expecting you. I see. You exchange glances with Celeste, but you both enter the cathedral grounds. The main building is massive, yet mostly empty. You only see a few people within, and most of them are quite familiar. You spot Leify and Miriam as you head further into the room. They both avoid eye contact with you, but it doesn't seem to be purely out of resentment. As soon as they see you, they move their conversation elsewhere. It's clear they still have mixed feelings about how you convicted their sister. In another corner of the room, you spot Lloyd von Sanctus speaking with another individual. She seems to be someone of equal social standing. You feel like you've seen her somewhere before, but can't quite remember where. As soon as you enter the room, von Sanctus flashes a quick look of disdain at you. You see him slowly move his conversation out of the room as well. And finally, you see Lucio Steelman speaking with his daughter, along with the two princes. They seem to be speaking with another individual you haven't met before. When he notices you, his gaze narrows, and he stares at the two of you warily. Aster especially seems surprised to see you here. He and Lucio ask the prosecutor something, but you can't quite hear their conversation. When she responds, Aster raises his eyebrows and Lucio's expression darkens. What's going on here? This is a little awkward. Yeah. But we have some time before our meeting with Pierce. You want to do some sightseeing? Oh, are you asking me out? We are literally already out. Sure, why not? Picked up this map from the entrance. We can use it to navigate through the area. Okay. So, when you said we're already out, does that mean we're already dating, or we're already out of the house? I'm also a little interested in what all these nobles are doing here. It is strange. Perhaps someone can tell you more. Now, as you approach the group, Grand Central and the unarmed nobles stand at the two of you. Grand General and the unarmed nobles stare at the two of you. Hello? The nobleman looks at you and then Celeste. He silently scans the two of you. It's as if he's trying to read something. He then walks away without a word. Rude? At this point, I'm kind of used to it. Mr. Cuthbert and Miss McCoy, I'm surprised to see you here. What? Well, I thought you were the one who invited them. I'm sad to say that I didn't. Although I am happy to see you two nonetheless. What brings you to the Grand Cathedral today? We were actually invited by another noble. We have a meeting with him. What? None of the people here are allowed to invite guests? Why didn't the guards stop you? Oh, they said they were expecting us. What? It was Lord Pierce who invited them. Pierce? That little. To think I granted his request for temporary release. I'm sure he meant no disrespect by it. He probably had his reasons. How can you say that? This is the day of your... He stops himself. Wedding! It's their wedding day! He stops himself mid-sentence and clears his throat. Make no mistake, even if he is a dead man, I will have words with him about this. I have to ask, why are all these nobles gathered here? We've taken over the entire Grand Cathedral. As you ask that question, everyone seems to tense up. The prosecutor awkwardly looks at the two princes. Prince Alaric avoids eye contact with everyone and stares at the ground. I'm sorry, but I'm not at liberty to tell you that. It's a matter of public safety. I see. Oh! Oh no! I have a feeling that it's not wedding day. It's father's funeral. It's a little strange, but you can read the room. Prying isn't the best thing to do right now. You said that Lord Pierce invited you here. For what reason? I can't really tell you that. You will tell us if it poses a threat to the nobles in attendance. But please, Lord Sewin, there's no need for that. Mr. Cuthbert would never do anything to put anyone's life in danger. As you wish, your Majesty. Is this the reason why Pierce asked for temporary release? Interesting. So Pierce was temporarily released to attend whatever this is. He could have met with you in his cell, but perhaps he wanted to be away from prying eyes. Lady Steelwind, your Majesty. The High Speaker is ready to speak with you. Wonderful. I've been looking forward to this all day. Shall we go together, Miss Steelwind? Yes, your Majesty. She would like to accompany you. Wonderful. We shouldn't keep him waiting. Okay. Scaled Lord. How does she plan to marry him if she can't even speak properly in his presence? Honestly. I also have something important to do. Good day to you, commoners. He's going towards the washrooms. I'll be taking my leave as well, but make no mistake, my men will be keeping an eye on you two. Everyone's left the room now. Perhaps you should move somewhere else. It's a stained glass window. Small rail of sunlight through it. Rows upon rows of seats for worshippers to sit at. Full capacity, this room could probably host thousands of people at a time. Magic? No magic. To the common room, then. What are you doing here? Did you follow us? Not intentionally. Trust me, you're the last person we wanted to see today. Hush now, Von Sanctus. If they're here by chance, it's because the cosmic balance wills it so. Not this again. Sorry, I don't think we've met. Corlin Sybil, Lady of House of Sybil. Interesting. So this is the head of the Fourth Pillar family. She's not quite what you were expecting. Between her, Lucio, Lloyd, and William, she definitely seems the most agreeable. For better or for worse, you've gotten to know the other Pillar families decently well. Might benefit you to learn more about her. Sunlight shining through a glass window. Ceramic altar. Oh. Okay. So you're the leader of House Sybil. What does your family do exactly? How are you this ignorant? Each of the four pillars, as you commoners call them, control different branches of the kingdom's government. House Steelwind oversees national defense and law enforcement. House Frigg oversees economic development and finances. House Von Sanctus handles commerce, both local and international. And finally, there's House Sybil. We handle the kingdom's legislative and judicial branches. That would also mean you're responsible for a kingdom's justice system. That is correct. Oh, wonderful. Here we go. Lady Sybil, Are you aware of the rampant corruption happening within your justice system? I suppose it's only inevitable that you'd see it that way. Am I wrong? I've been involved in plenty of court cases, and it's very obvious. All your courts care about is closing cases as quickly as possible. The system is corrupt to its core. The courts don't even try to hide it half the time. Yet you've prevailed against this so-called corruption in each and every one of your cases. Only against every conceivable odd. And I can't be everywhere. Do you have any idea how many commoners are falsely convicted every day? If they are convicted of my system, it's only because the cosmic balance deems it so. What are you even talking about? The cosmic balance is the natural order of things. Under it, the guilty are punished while the innocent are protected. And yet, when a noble commits their crime, they only need wave their influence to escape any consequences, all while their victims are forced to suffer in silence. Or worse, an innocent commoner is framed for the crime. Regardless of your personal kingdoms, our kingdom needs the nobility to govern the people. If they were held to the same standard as commoners, our society would surely collapse. You take back what you said about her being the most agreeable of the four pillars. So you think nobles like Pearson von Sanctus should just be allowed to get away with murder? Are you still sure about that? I'm sure you realize it by now. I've more than paid for what happened with Jason Wynn. His name was Jason Way. And if you were truly paying for your crimes, you would be in prison right now. Von Sanctus made a mistake, but removing him from his position would only create more suffering. Our government is barely recovering from the death of William Frege. Wyvern can't suffer the loss of another house leader this close to that. The way I see it, I think you nobles overstate your importance in our lives. We'd probably be fine without you. I suppose you commoners are capable of coordinating macroeconomic initiatives. Oh, and I suppose you're also capable of engaging in diplomacy with the other nations? Face it, as much as you're loath to admit it, ours is a symbiotic relationship. Or like a parasitic relationship. So what? The common folks should just No, that's me. So what? The common folks should just continue to suffer for the good of our nation? Lady Sybil, the people of the kingdom you claim to be protecting are suffering because of your inaction. My inaction? You place the blame on me, but what have you done? You were once a champion of your so-called justice, but you've stopped your work as a defense attorney. How many lives could you have saved in the month you spent on vacation? It's not his responsibility to solve your mess. You have no idea how much he's suffered trying to do the right thing. Celeste, perhaps you're right. He shouldn't bear that kind of responsibility alone. But every commoner has the ability to learn and practice law as you do, Mr. Cuthbert. So why are you one of the few commoners that do so? From what I've heard, you're one of the few people who defend mages of the common folk. Every other attorney wouldn't even consider taking them as clients. Perhaps the problem lies in the common folk, then. They're fully capable of rising to defend the so-called innocent, yet they do nothing. Never mind, this was clearly a mistake. Let's go, Celeste. Yeah, finally. Thank the Scaled Lord. You okay? Yeah. Guess I should have expected that, but I never expected someone with so much power to be so out of touch with reality. Come on, let's go somewhere else. We still have some time before the meeting. To the garden. You find yourself in the Grand Cathedral's garden and stumble upon a strange statue. Oh, that's a little out of place. What even is it? If my memory is correct, it's a Pegasus. Ah! Hello, friends! As you inspect the contemporary piece of artwork, you're startled by a familiar voice. And it looks like she's not alone either. Along with Eris, she seems to be accompanied by both of her sisters. But Beatrice, aren't you supposed to be dead? Sorry, I wasn't trying to say. No, it's perfectly understandable. You of all people know it was on my blood contract. But it appears the Lady of Discord isn't going to kill me just yet. Do you really have to do that? What? Never mind. Right. It's a little awkward speaking to the Frege sisters after everything that's happened, but they don't seem hostile. And all things considered, you prefer their company over Sybil's. Although you're not sure how you feel about speaking with a murderer, especially one that you indicted. But Beatrice clearly knows more about demons and their kind than you do. You wonder if she knows anything about the Heavensborn. So, you seem to be doing well, all things considered. You mean how a demon now has ownership of my soul? Yeah, that. How can you be so calm about this? I must agree with Miriam. It's a little unnerving how nonchalantly you're treating this. I suppose it's the knowledge that everything's out of my hands now. There's something peaceful about it. That's certainly a positive way to look at it. You know, my offer still stands. I can try to help you. At the risk of your own life. Which part of the contract would you dispute anyways? You recall reading her blood contract in the courtroom that day. There was very little room for interpretation. It was airtight. The demon I signed that contract with was very meticulous about the details. I've spent the last 5 years looking for any possible loopholes, but I didn't find anything substantial I could use. I don't even think disputing it is possible. I'm sorry. Don't be. You defeated me. I won't suffer your pity. Yes. Feel like we always end up randomly meeting like this, Eris. What brings you here? I requested to accompany Beatrice to this event. After all, I don't have many opportunities to enter a church like this. I can imagine. By the way, is your father still... Oh, if you're worried about him, we have already had a conversation about you. I don't think he'll be accosting you any time soon. Oh, thank you. That seems too good to be true. How'd you pull something like that off? He may look like a hardened criminal, but he's always had a soft spot for his family. He also owed me, and I have a way of making people see things my way. She's right about that. Wait, if you're here, does that mean Maranath is also... Oh, heavens no. There's no way they'd let me bring him here, of all places. I left him at the entrance with the Kingsguard. If he tries to escape, that knight over there is ordered to kill me. She points to a knight silently watching the sisters from afar. You're surprisingly calm about this. Please, I regularly deal with demons. This is nothing in comparison to that. You really haven't changed. I suppose not. Wait, does that mean you can't see right now? How did you know what statue I was looking at? It was a lucky guess. That grotesque statue certainly makes an impression on you. Oh, Maranath just spoke with me. He wanted me to let you know he can smell your celestial stink from the entrance. I love you too, Maranath. Oh, wow. Probably shouldn't repeat his response to that. By the way, you seem to know a lot more about these things than I do. What exactly is a Heavensborn? What? Did you seriously not know? But you know how to issue a divine edict. That's a very advanced technique. It sort of came to me in the moment. What? Anyways, I'm quite surprised you don't know about your lineage. Perhaps my mother knew, but I lost her when I was really young. I see. You have my condolences. But to answer your question, a Heavensborn is a human whose bloodline has been touched by the gods. Gods? You mean like the Scaled Lord? No, I'm speaking of the actual gods. Beatrice, you can't say that here. Oh, come off it. What's the church going to do? Arrest me? Anyways, your blood has been touched by the celestials of the upper planes. Much like my soul is bound to the abyssal hills, your soul is consecrated and tied to the heavens. The heavens? Is that why you're able to use the Eye of Horus? Is it some kind of angelic power? Make no mistake, though. If you find yourself under the wrong circumstances, even you can be sent to hell. The Church of Bahamut is prominent in Wyvengard, but this is the first time I've heard of the celestial gods. Ah, that makes sense. It's probably because of Wyvengard's bloody history with the Theocracy of Lumina. The Theocracy? Aren't they the nation northeast of us? Yes, the Luminites worship the celestial god, while our people worship the ancient dragons. A few decades ago, our nation was locked in a bitter war with the Luminites. Even now, the Crown sees the celestial religions as a possible threat to our draconic culture. The Church has done its best to wipe out any religions that worship the Celestials. I see. But if your bloodline is blessed by the Celestials, doesn't that mean our kids will also be Heavensborn? Suppose so. I think my mother was also a... Wait, what did you just say? Your kids. I asked if your kids will be Heavensborn. Oh, I must have misheard you then. Wow. If only you were always this easy to lie to. Anyways, I'm a little curious about the Theocracy of Lumina. If they worship Celestials there, would I find other Heavensborn there? Heavensborn aren't that common there either. Frankly, I'm surprised there's even one Heavensborn living in Wyvengard. How did your bloodline even find its way here? I suppose I don't really know. My mother never told me much about our ancestry. That makes sense. If the Church of Bahamut knew what you were, they would have definitely hunted you down. Great. Last thing you need is another faction that wants to kill you. Anyways, travel into and out of Wyvengard is technically illegal, and I doubt Lord Steelwind would make an exemption for you. He is an old veteran of the Great Luminite War.
Veteran? Vet!
Oh, no.
I hate the vet. I'm not going. You'll never take me alive. Arf, 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 arf.
You all watch as Tracker frantically runs through the garden, barking loudly. Leafy chases after him, and he runs towards someone. I should probably go help her. It's almost 2 p.m. anyway, so we should head to the prayer room. Thank you for answering my questions, Beatrice. Please let me know if there's anything I can do to help you with your situation. Of course. Let's go, Celeste. Right. Try not to look so down. It's almost time for the main event. Why did you bring me here? Oh, who knows? Whatever you're planning to make me do, please don't make me harm my sisters. You're in no position to make demands. You'll just have to see for yourself. Stay safe, Mr. Cuthbert. Is there not even going to be a trial in this? The statue. I can only feel its suffering. What? Its face is contorted into an expression of pure agony. It screams out in terror, yet no one can hear its pleas for mercy. Someone ignorant of its plight has placed some sort of vain party hat upon its head. It's as if they're mocking its torment, like some sort of demon torturing a poor soul in the fields of Avernus. What are you even saying? Sorry, I need to take a moment to think about what I've just witnessed here. We all should. Alright, Tyrion, you go do that. What the fuck was that? To the prayer room, I suppose. Are you ready? Yeah. At least, I hope so. If it becomes too much for you, don't hesitate to leave. I only need a few minutes to look into his mind. No, I'm the one who asked you to do this. And I'm not going to leave you alone with him. Alright, if that's what you want. Tyrion? Yeah? Thank you for doing this. It really means a lot to me. Of course. This will finally give you the answers you've been looking for. It's not just that. You've done so much for me since I met you. You got me acquitted. You helped me work through my grief for my dad. Feels like I can never repay that. What are you talking about? For the past few months, all I've been doing is relying on you. I genuinely don't know what I'd do if you weren't part of my life. I should tell him. Tell me what? Get out of my head! You're really bad at guarding your mind. You know you can tell me anything, right? Arya? How long have you been standing there? Well, I knew you'd be here around this time. Wanted to wish you luck, but you two seem to be in the middle of something. I didn't want to interrupt. Don't stop on my account. We'll just get out of your way. She awkwardly skitters. You see something fall out of her pocket. Oh, Arya, you dropped your runestone. She picks up the runestone. She accidentally activates it. An image of a piece of evidence appears for a brief moment, but she quickly hides it. But not before Celeste sneaks a peek at it. Oh, I see. Celeste, don't just invade her privacy like that. Don't be like that. I'm really happy for you. Thank you. Good luck. Part of you really wants to know what she saw, but one of you has to exercise some self-restraint. Anyways, let's go meet with him. Yeah, let's do this. I can tell him after. Oh no, she's not going to get to tell me after. Ah, you finally arrived. Suppose this means you finally decided... Wait, you two? We got your letter. Letter? What letter? You sent us a letter, Pierce. It said you knew who Celeste's parents were. I did send that letter, but not to you two. What? I don't like this. And so the final act begins. I've been waiting for this. What the hell are you doing? Have you gone mad? No, what are you doing? Stop! Oh shit. Lady Steelwind, what are you... Is this also the will of the cosmic balance? Come on, just tell us the truth, Pierce. You're the last person I would give this information to. He's getting more and more stressed. Just a little more and you'll... As you interrogate him, you suddenly hear a loud crash outside the room. What was that? I'm going to take a look and see what's going on. What? Are you just going to leave us here? He's right. We don't know what's going on. We should stay together. Don't worry. There were 2 guards outside, and they're from the King's Guard. You'll be fine. That's not what I'm worried about. But I'll trust your judgment. What? It's been almost 10 minutes since Celeste went to investigate the noise. Pierce seems extremely on edge. He's sitting at one of the tables and impatiently tapping its surface with his finger. So you never intended to send that letter to me. Who did you send it to, then? Oh, as if I would ever tell you that. Luckily for you, he should have accumulated enough stress by now. But why are you looking at me like that? Even if I wasn't the intended recipient, you said you knew who Celeste's biological parents are. Who are they? Are you seriously focused on that now? Far too important. My only bargaining chip. Answer the question, Pierce. What was that? Somnia. What? What is this? Blue luminous vapor into the room. As soon as it makes contact with you, you feel extremely fatigued. Damn it, it's a sleep spell! I miscalculated. No. If they got here, that means... Celeste. Try your hardest to stay conscious, but the spell is too powerful. You feel your body slowly dropping to the ground. No. Beatrice? She entered the prayer room at 2:30. I'm gonna have to defend Arya because she got mind-controlled and killed the nobility. Tyrion! What? Celeste? Tyrion, I'm so sorry. I should have listened to you. Should have never left you alone with him. Hey, it's okay. Tears are streaming down her eyes. She was clearly worried about you. Try your best to comfort her as you look around the room. What happened? How long were you knocked out? As you look around, you see several other people with you. Commander White is leading a group of knights. They all have their weapons drawn and point at someone. It's Prosecutor Steelwind? Commander, I understand your position, but there has to be another explanation. Look, Your Majesty, I get where you're coming from. From what the witnesses have told us, it has to be a case of mage blight. You look around the room and see a pool of blood at one end of the tables. Celeste, where's Pierce? Tyrion, I don't know how to tell you this, kid, but Garrick Pierce is dead. What? I'm honestly surprised that you're okay. But who? You look at the knights who have their weapons pointed at the prosecutor. Wait a minute. You think Steelwind did this? It wasn't just Lord Pierce, Mr. Cuthbert. We also found the bodies of Lord Von Sanctus and Lady Sybil. Not to mention, the bunch of the Kingsguard have gone comatose. Comatose? I don't want to believe it, but several people saw Steelwind acting off at the scenes of each of the murders. We also found her unconscious here, and Pierce's body was lying next to her. No, it wasn't her! I saw Beatrice before she passed out. She was the one that knocked us out. Beatrice? What the hell is going on? Commander White, you need to put me in a holding cell. It needs to be one with an anti-magic field. What? I'm a danger to everyone here. We need to go now. What are you talking about? Now is not the time. Do it, Commander. Right. Watch as the Inquisition arrests Steelwind and escort her out of the room. Damn it, what happened? I know you have many questions, Mr. Cuthbert, but we should make sure you're okay. Yeah, there's a necromancer in the nave. They have a point. You have no idea what happened while you were asleep. You follow their suggestion, but not before making a note of the current time. It's 3:12 p.m. Shit, things are picking up. Whomst? Nothing seems to be out of the ordinary, except... What's wrong with him? If you would just let me finish, there appears to be a trace of necromancy on you, Mr. Cuthbert. Necromancy? It's probably nothing. Did your assistant cast any spells on you? Oh, right. I used healing magic on him when I found him unconscious. I expected as much. But it never hurts to make sure. Anyways, nothing seems out of the ordinary. You're quite healthy. Should be fine to go about your business, but please speak with me again if you've experienced anything out of the ordinary. Thank you. I am Lord Lazaric Aspelius of the House Asclepius. Huh. There are no thanks needed. My apprentice apparently owes you a lot. Apprentice? Wallace Nightgrave. I believe he was one of your clients a few months ago. Oh, right. Steelwind did mention she introduced you to. Speaking of Steelwind, I really find it hard to believe that she did this. Mr. Cuthbert, mage blight isn't exactly a benign condition. When it takes hold of a mage, it doesn't matter what kind of person they are. Violent behavior is almost always a result of the delirium it puts them in. It's unfortunate, but mages have to be held responsible when cases like this happen. Unless someone is framing her. Tyrion, I fought her. What? Do you remember back when we heard that weird sound? I went outside to see what was going on. I saw her outside, and the guards were all unconscious. I tried to ask her what was going on, but she didn't say anything. She just attacked me. What was her emotional state like? Oh, well, she was pretty cold and emotionless. Almost looked like she was sleepwalking. That's actually pretty strange. What do you mean? When someone is affected by mage blight, they enter a state of extreme psychosis. Psychotic episodes like that raise the affected mage's paranoia to ridiculous levels. That's why these cases almost always end in violence. If she was affected by mage blight, she shouldn't have looked anywhere near as calm as you're describing. You might be onto something, Mr. Cuthbert. If what you're saying is true, there has to be more to this. You're planning to defend her, aren't you? At the very least, we need to find out what actually happened. I feel like there's more to this than we're seeing. But you saw her, right? Commander White, you need to put me in a holding cell. It needs to be one with an anti-magic field. What? I'm a danger to everyone here. We need to go now. She wanted them to arrest her. Right, it's as if she thought she was a danger to others. Regardless of what really happened, she clearly believes she was responsible for this. But there's no way she'd do something like this. Something else is happening here, and you will get to the bottom of this. You're not sure where each of the murders occurred, but the Inquisition should be able to tell you more about that. You'll also need to speak with Steelwind. If she really was affected by mage blight, she should be able to remember what may have caused it. But anyways, the prayer room is the room you're most familiar with. You probably want to start there. What did you... Oh. To the prayer room. You arrive at the prayer room. It's now swarming with knights from the Inquisition. You find yourself staring at the chalk outline of where Pierce's body once was. Can't help but feel a little uneasy. You've been to plenty of crime scenes before, but even if you were unconscious, you were here when the murder happened. It's a little unnerving knowing how close you came to death. You okay? Yeah. Now's not the time for an existential crisis. Steelwind's future counts on you figuring out what happened. You still don't know what happened after you fell unconscious. The Inquisition believes that Steelwind broke into this room, knocked you and Pierce out, and then killed him. But you remember it clearly. You saw Beatrice before you lost consciousness. There's more at play here than you realize. Celeste also fought Steelwind after Beatrice knocked you out. Perhaps she can tell you more about how she was acting. Let's review what happened. Before Beatrice knocked me out, we heard a commotion outside and you went to investigate. Can you tell me more about your fight with Steelwind? What was she like? Well, she wasn't her usual self. It's like she was in some kind of daze. I noticed it even before she attacked me. Something was wrong with her. Oh yeah, she didn't even respond to me when I tried to talk to her. It's like she didn't even recognize me. But from what Lord Asclepius said, she would have been acting more erratically if she was affected by Mageblight. It's possible you fought someone disguised as her. I guess that's possible, but whoever they were, their magic was still extremely powerful. And several members of the Four Pillars family were assembled here. Could have been one of them. We should speak with Commander White when we get the chance. The Grand Cathedral is closed to the public for whatever was happening here. They probably have a list of everyone who's present when the murders happened. This means that whoever did this was one of the nobles that was here today. Beatrice can cast invisibility, so I doubt she'd let you see her. But did you see her at any point when you were fighting Steelwind? Celeste? Sorry, I don't know. I was too focused on staying alive. I've actually been meaning to ask you about that. Aren't you really strong? I've never even seen you break a sweat in a fight before. Well, she was really tough. It was terrifying, honestly. It was mainly her magic. I've never fought someone with spells that powerful before. She didn't hurt you, did she? No, but it got pretty close. I think she realized she couldn't beat me, so she just ran past me and into the prayer room. So her real target was Pierce. But why? Did you see the moment she murdered Pierce? No. When I arrived at the prayer room, I saw you and Steelwind unconscious on the ground, and Pierce was already dead. I'm assuming you didn't see Beatrice anywhere? No, she wasn't there when I arrived. How did she leave the prayer room without Celeste noticing? Did she turn herself invisible? We showed up at the prayer room for the meeting at 1:50. Then we interrogated Pierce for about half an hour. That's when we heard that commotion outside, and you went to investigate it. Right, and I think Beatrice knocked me and Pierce out 10 minutes after that. How long did you fight Steelwind before she pushed past you? We definitely fought for a while. Must have been at least 20 minutes. After that, she gave up on fighting me and ran into the prayer room. Which means that Beatrice somehow got into the room during your fight. This counts my theory of her disguising herself as Steelwind. You regained consciousness at 3:12 p.m. It means you were knocked out for more than 40 minutes. There's still a lot of unknowns about what happened. You need all the pieces if you want to put this puzzle together. Alright. Let's see if we can talk to Steelwind in the dungeon. You arrive at the dungeon to speak with Steelwind, but you can't find her anywhere. The Inquisition and the King's Guard must still be processing her. We should come back later. Oh. Duh, I should probably examine the crime scene. There's a chalk outline where Pierce's body probably was. Looks like he was sitting against this altar when he died. The blood stain seems to imply that the fatal wound came from his chest. An autopsy report would be really helpful here. Ask the commander for a copy. 3 stained glass windows. Quite nice. Lanterns. Still lit. Oh shit, that's a lot of magic. There's a trace of necromancy on the ground here. It's probably from when I tried to heal you. Oh, there's a trace of transmutation here. It's all over the area around his body. Interesting. Did the murderer wound him using a transmutation spell? There are traces of conjuration magic all over the room. Must have been left by Beatrice's sleep spell. Anyways, looks like you found everything you can here. You should move and take a look at the other crime scenes. Is sleep a conjuration spell? Huh, apparently. Weird. To the garden. It's just you, Celeste, and the statue. A horrible statue. I don't feel safe here. Why is that statue freaking you out so much? That Pegasus is literally a celestial like you. I don't know, but I can feel it suffering through the eye. It's an inanimate object, Tyrion. Let's move somewhere else. Alright, whatever it takes to get you acting... Stop you acting so weird. What goes through the mind of such a tortured creature? What is it with you and the statue? I don't know, but I can feel its emotions as if it were my own. It's an inanimate object, Tyrion. That's so weird. Retrace your footsteps and find the common room. This was the last place you saw of Unsanctus and Sybil before everything happened. Look around and see that most of the room has been entirely scorched. You can still smell the scent of burnt cloth and flesh in the air. What happened here? Was there some kind of fire? Yeah, we think the purple out of fire using magic. As you enter the room, Commander White approaches you. He seems to be accompanied by the typical legion of knights. Commander White? Hey kid, you investigating what happened too? Something like that. We just want to figure out what really happened. You and me both. Nothing about this case makes any damn sense. I'll be honest, I could really use your help in trying to figure this out. Honestly, you're not sure who you can trust at this point. But the commander is leading the investigation, and he's bound to have information that will be useful to you. Okay, so if we're going to be defending Steelwind, who's going to be prosecuting? I swear, if Steelwind is trying to prosecute herself... this whole situation's a damn mess. Has the Inquisition found any clues to explain what happened? We only have the basic stuff so far. We've only just received the autopsy reports. It's still pretty useful. Do you have copies of them? Sure, knock yourself out. Garrick Pierce, 245 in the prayer room, blood loss, shard of frozen liquid, transmutation and conjuration magic. Sybil caused death with suffocation, floating in a nearby lake outside. Transmutation, evocation, and necromancy. Lloyd Von Sanctus, 205, suffocation. Fire in the common room, burnt the body too much to turn any wounds. Small trace of evocation, a burn mark found on the shoulder. Fire-based evocation spell, trace of abjuration found on and around the body. Wait, Pierce was killed with a frozen blade? Isn't that similar to how he killed Flintheart? Sorry, I didn't mean to... No, it's okay. It's still strange, though. Why would the murderer kill Pierce using such a convoluted method? If Steelwind really was affected by Mageblight, she wouldn't have done something like that. Anyways, the times of death also seem to tell a story. If we look at the reports, the murderer must have killed Von Sanctus, then Sybil, then Pierce in that order. Yeah, it's all working theory too. If we look at this map, we can see where the prayer room and the common room are. Lady Sybil's body was found in the lake west of here. But since the Grand Cathedral was built on a cliff, there isn't an easy way to get there in a short amount of time. So that raises my next question. How did Sybil's body end up in the lake? The murderer threw Von Sanctus from a balcony? No, right now we're oh, Lady Sybil. No. Through Sybil. Hid Sybil with a spell? No. Oh, crap, Steelwind. Sorry, that's supposed to say the murderer. What? Oh. Through from the balcony. The Grand Cathedral is built on a cliff over the lake. I forgot that I had changed it from through to hid. And the westward balcony just happens to be right over it. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. You even have a witness who saw Steelwind there. Really? Who was it? It's High Speaker Theon Arceus. High Speaker? He's the shot caller of the Church of Bahamut. He stands at the top of the religious hierarchy from what I hear. He spotted Steelwind near the west balcony and noticed she was acting suspiciously. Called out to her, but she ignored him. So she knew that he saw her, but she didn't attack him? Yeah, he really lucked out. But if she was having a psychotic episode, he would have noticed that. From what you said, all she did was ignore him. Alright, this whole Mageblight story doesn't really add up. Either way, we'll just have to talk to him directly to find out more. Putting that aside, there's something else that's strange. What's that? It's about the order the murders occurred in. What's strange about the order? The murder killed Von Sanctus, Sybil, and Pierce in that order. This means the murder went to the common room, then the west balcony, and finally the prayer room. But if we look at the map, the murderer's route seems a bit strange. The murderer could have killed Pierce. The murderer must have passed right by the prayer room before they dumped Sybil's body. Why wouldn't they just murder Pierce on the way there? Maybe they wanted to dump Sybil's body first? Or they were afraid of fighting me? Aren't you giving yourself a little too much credit? No, she has a point. Out of everyone who fought the murderer, Celeste was the only one who didn't die or fall comatose. Anyways, there has to be a reason why the murderer deliberately chose that route. Okay, you've created a rough outline of the murderer's actions, but the real clues will lie in how each of the individual murders occurred. And that starts to figure out how Von Sanctus was murdered. Chalk outline. This must be where they found the body. There's even bits of ash there. Must have been burnt fragment. Must be the burnt fragments of the body. Hooey. Looks like the fire reached them before it was put out. Sure, that's a lot of magic. Trace of evocation. A bunch of different spots around the room. I think the perp threw a bunch of fire-based evocation spells around to start the fire. The King's Guard used a bunch of water-based evocation spells to put it out before the fire spread. Oh, excuse me. That makes sense. With that knowledge in mind, there's nothing out of the ordinary here. There's a trace of abjuration magic in the center of the room. Do the traces overlap with the body? Kind of. It's sort of square-shaped? Square-shaped. I can't see the traces, but there also seems to be a square-shaped outline around the body. You're right, they overlap perfectly. The area inside the square is a lot less burnt now that I look at it. Not sure what this means yet, but it's worth taking a note of. Now, abjuration is protected. There's a trace of evocation magic near the body. Matches Zotop's report. The murderer must have hit him with an evocation spell. How did the Inquisition find out about the murders anyway? Did a witness come across the bodies? All started when Prince Alaric went up to us. He told us he saw a fire breaking out in the common room. He also saw Steel in there, but when he tried to talk to her, she hit him with some kind of spell. She attacked one of the princes? Yeah, but it didn't look like she hurt him. That guy from House Asclepius inspected him and told us he wasn't injured. Glad that he's okay, but wouldn't Arya have used a more violent spell if she was being affected by Mage Blight? It's possible she was throwing spells randomly and just happened to get really lucky. I suppose that's possible, but was there anyone else nearby when this happened? I would have expected a Prince of Wyvengard to be under constant guard. Yeah, that was kind of my mistake. I ordered the knights to give him some space considering what just happened. And that would be... Sorry, kid. If you don't know, it's not my place to tell you. Their dad is dead. I have orders from the top to stay quiet about that. It looks like you need to ask someone higher up. It's still strange, though. Why were all these nobles gathered here? Anyways, whatever the Pope hit him with, I only put him in a daze. Could barely walk or talk. Couldn't even approach us until the spell had worn off. The weirdest about it is he was pretty close to where we were. But for some reason, we didn't find him until after the spell wore off. That must have been traumatic. I hope he's okay. But why didn't anyone see him during this time? After he told us about what was happening, we went to put out the fires. That's when we saw a bunch of guards being knocked out outside the prayer room. Did you see me? No, this all happened around 3:10 p.m. Right, that was probably after Steelwind moved into the prayer room. Sluss must have already followed her into it. Comatose guards. When you arrested Steelwind, I recall you mentioning that a bunch of guards were comatose. Did the murderer use some kind of spell to knock them out? I don't think so. I'm just as lost as you are about that. Some of the victims didn't have any magical traces on them, so we know they're not under the effects of a spell, but they still haven't woken up. It's odd to say the least. Is there any common thread between the knights who fell comatose? Might help us deduce what happened to them. Well, we found all of them at locations where Steelwind was spotted. That can't be a coincidence. But he just admitted they weren't being affected by any kind of spell. What's going on here? Commander White, you keep saying the perp instead of Steelwind, even though everyone else seems to think she was responsible for this. Do you also suspect she's being framed? It just doesn't add up. She did give herself Mage Blight. Her actions wouldn't have been so deliberate. She's definitely not the type of person to just go around murdering people. Even if she was, she's led a lot of the Inquisition's investigations recently. She's investigated plenty of homicides with us. She knows exactly how we do things. Whoever did this got the job done, but they were sloppy about it. A bunch of witnesses saw her, and she didn't even try to hide herself using her magic. So either she had Mage Blight, which doesn't match with her behavior, or she did this intentionally and wanted to get caught. Neither scenario makes any damned sense. Someone has to be framing her. It's the only reasonable explanation. Honestly, I'm not so sure about that either. What do you mean? You saw her when we arrested her, didn't you? She wanted us to lock her up. It's like she thought she was a danger to herself and others. Right, it's the same impression I got as well. If it weren't for the witness's statements, I'd be sure she gave herself Mage Blight. Strangest thing is, I've never seen her that scared before. Something really rattled her about what happened. Alright, my dryer just went off, which means that it's going to be making very loud buzzes every couple minutes, so I'm going to go stop that. So we will be right back. Go take a bathroom break if you need to, get something to eat or drink, cycle your fluids. If it's that time, take your meds. And we'll be right back. Impeccable timing, Teach. I saw your message right as I was leaving to go on break. Ooh, they had vanilla Coke. That's wonderful news. Alright, Beatrice. Did you follow up on what I said about Beatrice? I know she was in the room when Pierce and I fell unconscious. She has to be involved in this somehow. Well, she's already in prison, so we're already ahead on that account. But when we asked her what happened, she said she couldn't remember anything. Such an obvious lie. She has to be hiding something. Normally, I'd agree with you, but she's not the only one with missing memories. Steelman also can't remember anything. What? Looks like you'll have to speak with her about that. Anyways, what about Eris and that knight who was guarding her? Did they see anything? Sorry, kid, but Eris Maid has been missing since everything went down. What? Do you have any idea what happened to her? No, but I wouldn't be too worried. What? A witness to the crime is missing and possibly hurt. Look, kid, you may be a hotshot attorney, but I've been in this business a lot longer than you have. Sometimes when these things happen to civilians, they get spooked and run away. I've seen it a million times. I feel like he's not making as big a deal of this as he should be, but he might have a point. Eris is the daughter of a crime lord, after all. She might have gone into hiding to avoid having to speak with law enforcement. We don't have the resources to look for. I'm sure she'll turn up eventually. Well, I suppose we can't do anything about that now, but I still hope she's okay. Anyways, what about the knight guarding Beatrice? Surely he didn't go missing as well. That's the thing. Naughty was supposed to be watching her as one of the people who went comatose. We found him in front of the prayer room, too. Damn it, what happened to him? To make matters worse, that Frege chick knows how to cast invisibility, so even if she was telling the truth, very few people would have actually seen her. But her guard was in front of the prayer room. She must have brought him there somehow. Interesting. Anyways, would you happen to have a recent version of her spell compendium? Sure, we already have it on record. Oh god, I'm about to get so many spells, aren't I? Familial Bonds, Mend Wounds, Send Message, Animate Corpse, Necrotic Blight, Invisibility, Feign Death, Illusory Disguise, Right, I forgot how many spells she knew how to cast. Now, wait a second. Okay. Look, all I'm saying to this game is that this is some poor internal consistency. Because Beatrice Frege broke the glass in the display at the gallery with evocation magic. And none of these are evocation spells. So, I love the game. I love you. But, like, really? A little sloppy. First victim. It's all a little difficult to take in. I still can't believe it. After everything he did, Von Sanctus was just murdered. I'm surprised to hear that from you. Didn't he basically get away with off in just in way? The way I see it, he got what he deserved. It still doesn't sit right with me. No matter who the victims might have been, no one deserves to die like that. You're definitely a bigger man than I am. Anyways, Von Sanctus' autopsy report says he died of suffocation. I think the murder overpowered him and choked him with a rope or something. Hardly sounds like something someone would do during a psychotic episode. Yeah. More info I get, the more I think you might be onto something. Either way, the fire that the Pope started in this room burned his body. It didn't completely turn him to ash, but he was still pretty charred. So that fire would have burnt away any evidence of the minor wounds he had. Yeah. Well, luckily we even discerned he was hit with an evocation spell. Right. Autopsy report mentioned that too. But if a fire was started, is it possibly died from smoke inhalation? Now, divination spell we use always identifies smoke inhalation as death by poisoning, not death by suffocation. I suppose that kind of makes sense, but it's still a shame we can't find out how the murder suffocated him. We still know very little about how the murders occurred. Do you have records of each of the victims' spell compendiums? They might help us understand what each of the victims was doing during the attack. Sure, knock yourselves out. Okay, yeah, we already had that one before. Sybil, Slowfall, Foresight, Strike True, Detect Magic, Stone Skin. Imagine being a noble and knowing True Strike. Von Sanctus, Mageblade, Force Cage, Send Message, Mend Wounds. Conjure Light. Conjure Water. Frostwave, Force Cage, Mageblade, Slowfall, Foresight, Strike True. Increase their ability to predict the results of all their actions. Useful for the purpose of aiming or doing other activities that rely on dexterity and skill. Yeah, and it's a concentration spell. Detect Magic. Stone Skin. Okay, wow, that's a lot to work through. Yep, this is what happens when a bunch of mages are caught in the middle of a murder. Honestly, you've been lucky until now. Nevertheless, I'll need to look over each of these spells when they become relevant. Okay. I think that's just about everything I can get there. Anything new in the garden? No. Anything new in the prayer room? Oh, common room. I know, that's where it just was. Do I need to present him something? Doesn't really make sense. Still so many unknowns. We should continue looking for clues. Don't push yourself too hard, okay? If you feel tired, don't be embarrassed to take a break. Yeah, I'll try not to exert myself too much. Where do you think we should go next? What? Why are you asking me? I don't know, I'm just trying to figure out where to go next. Well, don't ask me. You're the attorney, I'm just the muscle. In a figurative sense. Right. She's been a bit on edge since she found you unconscious. Does she still feel guilty over leaving you alone? I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be talking to him about. this is all the same thing it's been before. I'm missing something. What am I supposed to be doing here? Yes, we're looking for a while. No one even noticed until Prince Alaric told the King's God he saw smoke. Interesting. We should speak to him and see if he saw anything else. Think you found everything you can really... Oh, okay. Okay, apparently there was one thing I hadn't examined. You arrive at the west-facing balcony of the cathedral. Supposedly this is where the murderers threw Sybil's body into the lake. Oh, hello there. As you inspect the area, you catch the attention of an old man nearby. From his garb, he appears to be someone who works at the cathedral. I don't believe we've met before. What are you doing here? Sorry for the intrusion. I'm Tyrion Cuthbert, and this is my bodyguard, Celeste McCoy. We're investigating the murders on behalf of Prosecutor Steelwind. Tyrion Cuthbert. I have heard of you. Doesn't look nearly as criminal as I expected him to be, huh? Judging from his thoughts, he probably hasn't heard many good things about you. But forgive my rudeness. I am Theon Archius, High Speaker of the Church of Bahamut. So you're the one who saw Steelwind here during the murders. Do you mind if we ask you some questions? Scans you weirdly. I suppose there would be no harm in that. We heard you saw the prosecutor acting strangely here. Could you tell us more about what you saw? Did it look like she was having a psychotic episode? I wouldn't go that far, but she was certainly acting strangely. How did you come across her? Well, I was on my way to the prayer room. I always recite prayers from the draconic texts around that time. Wait, he was heading to the prayer room? When I saw her, I first thought she was just enjoying a view of the lake. I was about to greet her, but when I approached her, I saw that she was throwing someone off the edge of the balcony. You must have seen her dropping Sybil's body. You're probably correct. I came to the same conclusion after they found that poor woman's body below us. Although, what is it? I only saw it for a second, so perhaps I'm wrong. But Lady Sybil is wearing much brighter colors this morning. Whatever Lady Steelwind threw into the lake, it looked much darker. What does that mean? I'm sorry, I can't really explain it. Perhaps I was just seeing things. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be, after all. Could have just been a trick of the light. Interesting. Wait, if you saw Arya dumping Lady Sybil's body, she must have just murdered her. And that means you must have been heading to where we were at the time. Oh? Were you praying there with Lord Pierce? Not exactly. What? That's not what the guards told me. The guards? Do you mean the ones standing watch outside the prayer room? Yes, they told me that Pierce was praying with some acquaintances of him. They said the same thing to Lady Steelwind as well. Wait, Steelwind was there too? Yes, she appeared to be waiting for something. But anyways, I didn't want to disturb them, so I went back to my quarters to pray there. High Speaker didn't see her fighting Celeste. She must have started her attack after she left, but why would she bother waiting? Either way, we can't exactly question those guards. Yeah, they're still comatose after the attack. Actually, the High Speaker's quarters aren't that far away from the prayer room. How did you not hear anything? Must have been because of the magical wards in my room. Magical wards? Are they there for security reasons? Not exactly. I actually suffer from chronic insomnia. Even the smallest sound will wake me up at night. Years ago, I had some mages enchant the walls so sound couldn't travel through them. I can't hear anything from outside the room once I shut my door. Sounds awfully convenient, but I doubt you'd lie about something you could so easily verify. Either way, you should make a note of this. Balcony provides a perfect view of the lake. A lot of people probably come here when the Grand Cathedral's open to the public. can see a military stronghold in the distance. They must be able to see a lot from that high up. Some kind of debris on the ground. Some kind of gravel. There are traces of transmutation on the pieces of this debris. That would imply that a spell specifically targeted or created whatever this came from. But I doubt someone created those bits of gravel. Must have broken off from something else. I believe you found everything you can here. Perhaps you should move somewhere else. To the dungeon, maybe? I think I've been everywhere else. Nope. Prayer room? Nave. Maybe there's someone to talk to here now. Nope. Nope, no new magic here. Do I have more to talk to Pierce about now? No. Is there someone else in the garden now who wasn't there before? You arrive back at the cathedral's garden and come across that accursed statue again. It's staring into my soul. Then stop looking at it! As you move your attention away from the grotesque sculpture, you spot the crown prince, sitting on a bench guarded by some knights from the King's Guard. His brows furrowed, and he seems to be deep in thought. Oh, Mr. Cuthbert and Miss McCoy, too. What are you still doing here? We're trying to investigate what happened. We were looking around when we just happened to find you here. I see. Are you okay? Yes, I was just thinking on how unfortunate this ordeal has been. I do hope Miss Steelman is taking this well. Right, she is his fiancée after all. Must be extremely worried about her. We're trying to find out what exactly happened. Do you mind if we ask you some questions? I see. Well, I'll do whatever I can to help. You said you two were investigating the murders. You weren't planning to defend Miss Steelman, were you? If she would have me. She may be a competent prosecutor, but I have far more experience defending clients. Fortunately, I think the situation is more complicated than that. What do you mean? Several house leaders died today. We can't release this information to the public, not after the news of William Frega's death has already spread. In the course of 2 months, we've lost not one, but 3 members of the Pillar families. But the trial has to happen soon, or else the magical traces left will disappear. From what I've heard, we will be holding a trial, but it will be handled privately and internally. I'm sorry to say that you won't be permitted to serve in such a trial. Right, the majority of the nobility hates me, after all. You wouldn't be able to pull some strings, would you, Aster? I'm sorry, I'd like nothing more than to give you the opportunity to represent her, but I clearly have a personal attachment to this case. If I try to tip the trial in her favor, it'll only harm her chances more. Right, I see what you mean. But even if we can't help her during the trial, we can still investigate the crimes on her behalf. Yes, I would really appreciate that. If new evidence is found, perhaps we can exonerate Miss Steelman of the charges against her. After everything that's happened, I really need to know. Why were so many nobles gathered in one place anyway? All 4 of the Pillar families were present. I understand if you don't want to tell me, but this information could be vital in figuring out what really happened. No, I see your point. The truth is, we all gathered to mourn the death of my father, King Olivier de Wyvangard IX. Called it! Also, interesting that his father is a 9th, but neither of his 2 sons is named Olivier. You'd think with that much lineage. Wait, the king is dead? Yes, we wanted to avoid releasing this information to the public so close to the death of William Frege. My father's been ill for quite some time, so we were prepared for this. Or at least I thought I was. I also lost my mother when I was quite young. But it's still a little hard to take in. I'm sorry. You have my condolences. Thank you. But if King Olivier is dead, that would make you... Yes. You currently stand before King Aster de Wyvangard, ruler of our kingdom. Consider everything that happens. He seems to be less than thrilled about that. I suppose that explains why all of these nobles were gathered. They came under the guise of paying their respects, but it's clear they all wanted to get closer to the new King of Wyvangard. I think the Fregas were the only ones who genuinely came to give their condolences. Speaking of the Fregas, I think you need to know. I saw Beatrice before I was knocked out. I think she may have been the one that killed Garrick Pierce. Why would she be there? I'm sorry, I know she's your friend, but we already know she's not above committing murder. I see. I suppose if you're saying it, it must be so. But what possible reason would she have to be involved in something like this? I'm not sure yet, but I plan to find that out. By the way, where were you during the murders? I remember you left with Steelwind when Celeste and I arrived at the cathedral. Ah, yes, Steelwind and I left to speak with the High Speaker Archius in his quarters. what was your meeting about? It was actually about our wedding. With my father's death, Lord Steelwind wanted to finally make our union official. Oh! I would congratulate you two, but considering the circumstances, I understand, and I appreciate your words nonetheless. Anyways, how long did this meeting last? I believe we spoke with him until 1:40 p.m., but Von Sanctus died at 2:05 p.m. That means she began her rampage less than half an hour after that meeting. Was there anything off about her behavior? Now that you mention it, something about her demeanor changed. We were speaking of the wedding when she abruptly left. I asked her where she was going, but she ignored me. It sounds similar to what happened when Celeste fought her. There's no way she was affected by Mage Blight. I honestly didn't think much of it at the time. I'm quite used to her giving me the cold shoulder. Right. It's possible that the steel wind the witnesses saw wasn't actually real. Does that mean the steel wind that attended the meeting was also fake? Anyways, what happened after your meeting with the High Speaker? Did you see Steelwind after that? Actually, I found myself caught up in something else entirely. At 2 p.m., I went to pay my respects at my father's coffin, but apparently someone had set a magical trap there. What? It was a glyph of contingency. I have heard of that spell. It's like a trap you can set, and you can infuse any spell into it. But it requires a second contingent spell to place that trap. Which spell was it? It was a force cage, targeting me. Was the murderer trying to attack Astar too? I don't think so. They would have used a more lethal spell if they wanted to. But from the sounds of it, force cage can't be dispelled, so Astar would have been trapped inside of that for the full hour. We think the murderer used this as a distraction. Because of that trap, the Kingsguard consolidated most of their attention and forces on my location. As a result, there were fewer people guarding Gonsanctus, Sybil, and Pierce, and the ones that were there all fell comatose. They can't tell us what happened to them. Wild. And yet another inexplicable event is added to the list. Trying to ignore the game because I'm on last episode, but how's the stream going? Things are crazy this time. Obsidian, things are insane. I know you're saying you're trying to ignore the game, but there is so much wild shit dropping right now. If you want to catch up and you don't want spoilers, I don't want to say don't watch the stream, but like things are insane. I would not recommend watching this if you aren't caught up yet. Someone must be behind what happened, but who? Anyways, seems he's told you everything he knows. He probably didn't witness much after he was trapped by that force cage. Should move somewhere else. Alright, I think this is the last place. I'm so sad I want to be here live, but I need to watch last episode. Yeah, if there's any condolence, I probably won't go too much longer, because I'm definitely not planning to finish this case tonight. But you should definitely keep the window open. Nope, okay. Maybe there's someone new to talk to in the nave. She attacked a member of the royal family and killed several nobles. Going back to the bud. Goodbye, Obsidian. Wish you could stay, but I wouldn't want you to get spoiled because this game is really cool. She attacked a member of the royal family and killed several nobles. What else is there to investigate? The laws are clear about what we must do. We should execute her immediately. Alaric, the situation is far too much important to make such rash. Who is this? You need to approach this calmly and carefully. As you return to the nave, you saw a young prince in an argument with that nobleman you saw earlier. Now that you think of it, you still have no idea who he is. Oh, it's you two. Your Highness, and I don't think we've been introduced. What? I see you're still as insolvent as ever. You stand before Sir Remus Virgile, Archduke and Royal Visor to the Wyvengard throne. I think that's supposed to be Vizier. I believe he means advisor. Remus. Archduke? You didn't even know the Kingdom of Wyvern had a title like that. Why haven't you ever heard of him before? Why are you two still here anyways? I thought the cathedral was closed for the investigation. We're investigating what happened on behalf of Prosecutor Steelwind. I see. Anyways, I have much to attend to. I'll be taking my leave. Sense a tinge of anxiety. Is he avoiding you? Actually, since we have you here, we have some questions for you. The both of you. You should know your place, knave. Your Grace, where were you when the murders took place? Just what are you trying to insinuate? Please, Alaric, there's no need for that. To answer your question, I was speaking with Lady Frega's familiar. Tracker? No, it was the demon who calls himself Maranath. What? Why would you want to speak with him? He was actually the one who sent for me. According to him, he had some information that was of great import to me. You didn't make a contract with him, did you? Of course not. What kind of desperate fool do you take me for? No, he gave me the information he had freely. But why would he do that? Demons are supposedly always trying to trick humans into making deals with them. Looking back, it must have been a distraction. What a fool I was. I knew he was playing with me. But I knew he couldn't tell lies, and the information he had was too important to ignore. If you don't mind me asking, what was the information about? I'm sorry, but I can't reveal what he told me. It could endanger people that I care about. But rest assured, I doubt it has anything to do with the massacre. Your Grace, we've only just met. I can't exactly take your word for it. I suppose that's fair, but believe me when I say I plan to take this information to my grave. It's ominous, but he's clearly intent on keeping their conversation secret. Anyways, several members of the King's Guard were watching us. They can verify my alibi. How long did this conversation last? I arrived to speak with him at 1:50, and I didn't leave until 3:10 p.m. It was accounted for during the time frame of the murders. Why would Maranath go to the trouble of distracting him in the first place? Whoever orchestrated this also used a force key, chap asked. Are they trying to distract the forces in the Citadel? Excuse me. Or are they trying to keep certain people out of the crossfire? Either way, it's clear that Beatrice has a lot to answer for. Your Highness, we heard the prosecutor cast a spell on you when you saw the fire in the common room. Can you tell us more about what happened? Can't believe she attacked a member of the royal family. She was completely irresponsible with her magic. I understand your feelings about this, but we can't say for certain she inflicted mage blight on herself. We don't even know if it was actually her. I saw her with my own eyes. Plenty of other people did too. Either way, where did this happen? It was on the path outside the common room. I saw smoke coming from the building, and I saw Steelwind walking away from it. This must have been after she murdered Von Sanctus. I have a feeling I already know the answer, but was she behaving erratically? No, she very deliberately cast a spell on me. This once again implies that Mage Blade wasn't behind this. Do you know which spell she cast on you? I'm not sure. I've never been affected by a spell like that before. From the magical traces on him, we know it was a transmutation spell. Transmutation spells manipulate and change physical matter. It's scary to think about what that might do to a human body. Are you sure he's okay? Lord Asclepius inspected him, and he doesn't appear to have any lasting injuries. We're hoping the spell's effects were only temporary. Could you describe what you felt when you were affected with it? That might help us identify which spell it was. Well, I was extremely dazed, and my ears were ringing. My vision was also partially blurred. It was as if my mind was in some sort of fog. Whenever I tried to speak, I couldn't even form words with my mouth. I could only make grunting sounds. I couldn't walk either, so I had to crawl on the floor. Sorry I had to go through that. That must have been traumatic. This man got polymorphed, didn't he? But what kind of transmutation spell would do that to him? Had to be something that affected his senses. Nope! Nope, it was a polymorph spell. He could only grunt, and he had to crawl on the floor. Familial bond. Okay. I don't have the spell, but I'm certain that was a polymorph. You already told us she wasn't acting erratically, but was there anything off about her demeanor? I only saw her for a moment, but she was definitely different than usual. She was completely emotionless. Yeah, it's exactly what she was like when I fought her, too. It's like she was an arcane construct. Her movements were almost robotic. Wait, are there any arcane constructs on the cathedral grounds? No, not for lack of trying on Lord Von Sanctus's part. The High Speaker and I have specifically forbidden the staff here from using them. It would be really convenient if all of this was done using construct, although you're a little tired of seeing them in your cases. Anyway, was anyone else around when Steelwind cast that transmutation spell on you? No, she moved away quickly after she incapacitated me. And even if someone was around, I don't think I could have seen them anyways. Commander White also said he was surprised when he saw the prince after the spell wore off. What happened to him? Covers the lyrics account of what happened. We even got the Archduke's statement too. But there's still one last person we need to speak to. Arya. She and Beatrice supposedly have no memories of what happened to her. If it were only Beatrice saying that, I'd probably doubt it. But if Steelwind also doesn't have any memories, it becomes a lot more credible. She definitely has the missing piece we need to put this together. Are you going to the dungeon to speak with her? I am. Wonderful. I'll be accompanying you. What? As the royal advisor, I have a vested interest in the investigation. While I trust Lucio to leave no stone unturned, I hear you have quite the talent for seeing what the crown cannot. Well, it's not as if you have the authority to stop him, but you still don't know him very well. You need to be wary about what you say in front of him. Alright, dungeon time. And we'll probably call it after we finish this. You arrive at the dungeon and see the prosecutor sitting in a holding cell. She seems extremely stressed. She's trying to figure something out. Mr. Cuthbert, and your grace. Steelwind gives a wary look to the Archduke. How are you doing? As best I can, all things considered. What brings you here? We're trying to investigate everything that happened. I see. I was wondering if you could answer some of our questions. Steelwind, I know your situation is pretty grim right now, but you know you can trust me. You're not the person I'm worried about. At this moment, I don't even know if I can trust myself. What? We heard you don't have any memories of what happened. Is that true? It is. No matter how much I try, I can't recall anything. What's the last thing you remember? I believe I was leaving my meeting with the High Speaker and His Majesty. After the meeting, I was planning to return to the nave to speak with my father, but I suddenly felt extremely nauseous. I thought some fresh air might help me feel better, so I went to the balcony. The one over Lake Galacrond. Yes, that one. Last thing I remember was losing consciousness as I looked at the lake. And did you cast any magic before this happened? No, I didn't. Are you sure you don't remember anything after that? I don't. All I remember is waking up to the sound of someone sobbing. It was Celeste. She was crying over your unconscious body, Mr. Cuthbert. I feel like we've completely ruled out Mage Blight, so I doubt that's why you can't remember anything. Are there any spells that can specifically modify or destroy people's memories? It would certainly explain a lot of this. No. Arcane spells can only affect the physical world. But throughout history, mages have attempted to develop spells that can affect the mind. There's no recorded history of any of them succeeding. So assuming that arcane spells are the only type of magic that exists. What? I think you've observed this already. There are magical creatures in this world that don't use arcane magic. Isn't that right, Mr. Cuthbert? What? Does he know about the Eye of Horus? I'm not sure what you're trying to imply. Don't take me for a fool. Several of my associates attended Frega's trial, and they all heard what that demon referred to you as. Heavensborn. If I learned that Lumina had anything to do with this, Your Grace, I'm not an agent of the Theocracy. And even if what you're saying is true, I wasn't the one who manipulated Sealwyn's memories. But I suppose you raise a good point. If something affected Sealwyn's memories, it wasn't necessarily an arcane spell. In fact, it couldn't have been an arcane spell. It was definitely something else. You're probably right, which proves that I'm responsible for the murders. What? You just said you don't have any memories of what happened. Why are you so convinced you're responsible for this? I told the Inquisition already. I saw Beatrice before I passed out. She's clearly involved in this somewhere. There's more to this than you realize, Mr. Cuthbert. For the past few months, the Inquisition and I have been investigating a string of seemingly unrelated murders. During each of these cases, we're able to apprehend the perpetrator without issue. There's always something off about them during questioning. Murders were always abnormally gruesome and passionate. Each of the perpetrators said the same thing. They all said they had no choice. No choice? Cases like this have been occurring throughout Wavengard, and very little connects the perpetrators to each other, all except for one thing. Each of them acts as if someone had controlled them against their will. They were probably just desperate. Most murderers try to make excuses after they're caught. They could even just be in complete denial. Horim said the same thing, but these cases were far too similar for me to ignore. I wondered if they were telling the truth. Perhaps each of these murders was committed by an unknown party. I didn't have any concrete evidence, but I knew I was getting closer to something. Steelwind, I don't mean to be rude, but this sounds completely insane. You don't even have any physical evidence to prove these murders are connected. There's one piece of evidence, but it's hardly concrete. But it does tie each of these cases together. Small parchment. It's a purple symbol. Several of the people we arrested had an item with the symbol on it. None of them could remember where it came from, or even what it was. But they all somehow knew it was called the Purple Mark. But there has to be an explanation for this. It could just be some esoteric superstition we don't know about. If that's true, then ask yourself one thing. Where did Oya get this parchment from? I don't mean... I found it in my pocket after I was properly confined. Whoever had been chasing must have left it there to taunt me. For all I know, they could have controlled my body and forced me to draw this symbol myself. Either way, this all but proves the massacre at the cathedral is related to it. I don't want to dismiss what you said, but this definitely won't hold up in court. Nor should it. My mind has been compromised, so I can't take the risk of leaving this dungeon. Otherwise, so I can end up harming more people. Wait, are you planning to spend the rest of your life in prison? That's what's necessary to keep everyone safe. But what about Aster? Weren't you two supposed to be married soon? He's the king now, and you can't rule Wavengard alongside him from a holding cell. Correct, but he's always been a remarkable person. You should have no problem finding another suitress. I feel an overwhelming sadness emerging from her as she says that. Arya. No. What? You're not going to sacrifice everything for someone else's actions. Mr. Cuthbert, I'm not going to risk more lives. If I would have hurt His Majesty, I'd never be able to forgive myself. Please don't ask that of me. I'm pretty sure we've done this before. Sealwyn's going to throw everything she cares about for the greater good. Even if she was the one who did all this, she's not the one who's responsible. Can't let her resign herself to a fate like this. Bum 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 bum. Who acts for the greater good regardless of the amount of suffering she must endure in doing so? She's deeply in love with Aster and will do anything to protect him. However, she's still a rational person and will be receptive to logical arguments. Steelman, are you seriously just going to throw your life away? If it were necessary, I would give my life for this kingdom. Someone controlled my actions today. They can and will do so again. Villain controlled my mind. As long as that possibility exists, I can't trust myself. Maddie in the building. What's up, Velvet? It's not the issue here. If someone else is responsible for what happened, then we need to find out who they are. They're still out there. So this person... We don't know how mind control works. No. It's not the issue here. If someone else is responsible for what happened, then we need to find out who they are. They could still be out there. That's true. You're fully capable of finding that out yourself. So I've said I have no memories of what happened. I'm sure one day you'll be able to find out what happened. But you'll have already lost everything by then. That's assuming this person can continue to do so. You said yourself, you haven't found any evidence to prove your theory. Sorry, I was watching a movie. Hey, don't worry about it, Velvet. You're good. We don't know how this mind control works, and we don't have enough information. We can't just drop this without finding out what really happened. I suppose you're right, but I doubt there was any goal to this. The person responsible was just... We've been investigating these murders for months, and I've never been able to find any personal clues as to who the perpetrator is. There's no way to connect them to this. Whoever did this was a sadistic individual who wanted to cause as much suffering as possible. It's probably got to be based on the fact that she didn't kill everyone. What is this? The perpetrator wasn't nearly as aimless as you think, and this proves it. My apologies, Tyrion, but I don't really see how this proves your claim. Oh. Okay. Wasn't nearly as aimless. Oh, come on. It's not true, Steelwind. Whoever did this had very specific targets in mind. Both Prince Alaric and the High Speaker saw you when the murders were being committed. Not to mention, they set a trap for Aster. What? Let's assume that someone was controlling you. They wouldn't have left Alaric, Arceus, or Aster alive if they were trying to kill as many people as possible. Well, I suppose you have a point there. It was a good one. Sorry, the love of my life, Lily Reinhardt. Nice. Even so, that hardly narrows things down. If someone was controlling me, they wouldn't need to enter the cathedral to use me. Perpetrator didn't... Perhaps you're right, and the perpetrator only wanted to murder the 3 victims. There's plenty of people who might want to see those 3 dead. The perpetrator didn't need to enter the cathedral to commit those murders. No. It's gotta be something about how everyone was there. Nature's actions, spell compendiums. It's evidence that narrows down who's responsible. Sorry, but I don't really follow your logic. Okay, so we need something that narrows down who's responsible for this. Oh. Not going to debate this anymore, Mr. Cuthbert. This is my decision. I won't risk anyone's life in the hope to save myself. Please just leave me alone. Okay. Good, so I can't just try this again. Argument. Someone's controlling me. They wouldn't need to enter the cathedral to use me. The perpetrator didn't need to enter the cathedral to commit the murders. There's plenty of people who might want to see those 3 dead. Something that narrows down who's responsible. What narrows down who's responsible for this? How is Pucas other than Washergate? Oh, you know, it's been a day. Me at 12:30 after getting a bunch of groceries. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna cook lunch, cook dinner. Not gonna go out for anything today. Me at 6:30 after having to pail all of the water out of my washer. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go out and get a sandwich. So I went to Jersey Mike's and got a sandwich big enough that I can take the other half for lunch tomorrow. And also went to Orange Leaf because ice cream is good. Perpetrator didn't even need to enter the cathedral to commit the murders. No. Oh! There's only one thing you're overlooking. Before the murder, someone trapped Aster within a force cage using Glyph of Contingency. Not you having to drain the water acoustically. I haven't had Orange Leaf in so long that... Yes, right? I was so happy when I moved where I am and found out that there's an Orange Leaf here. I miss the wedding cake froyo so bad. They don't currently have wedding cake, but my mom also really loved wedding cake, and she says that their vanilla is pretty close. Like, they're just regular vanilla is pretty close to the wedding cake. Before the murder started, someone trapped Aster within a force cage using Glyph of Contingency. But they didn't harm him, it was probably just a distraction. Even so, this gives us two very important clues. The first is that whoever did this is capable of casting those two spells. This means the perpetrator was a mage. It's true, but the second clue is the most important one. Whoever set that trap for Aster, they did it within 24 hours of it triggering. It means the perpetrator must have been someone who attended the funeral. So it was one of them. This narrows down our list of suspects substantially. There's a chance we can identify who did this. And if they really did control your actions, we can find a way to prevent them from doing so again. Steelwind, you need to fight this. We can't. What? Why not? If we pursue an individual like this, they might retaliate even more than they already have. They wanted to remove me from my position. How will they react if I try to resist? They might hurt even more people to send a message. It's far too dangerous. She'll do anything to protect him. Whoever did this had a goal far bigger than you. You have no guarantee they'll stop here. 3 nobles died today, and 2 of them were near the top of the political hierarchy. What if they decide to go over more victims? Who will they target next? Your father? The king? We need to catch them before they can do more harm. I know you're frightened about what might happen to the people close to you, but we can't let someone that dangerous get away with this. When you put it that way, I suppose I have no other choice, do I? Argument 1. Need another person in my life to get married soon so I can have actual wedding cake again. Fair. I never realized it before, Mr. Cuthbert. What? You really have a bad habit of putting your nose into other people's business, don't you? Yeah, suppose I do. But you're right. We can't let this go. We'll find a way to dispute this, somehow. Thank you, Mr. Cuthbert. I think we've known each other long enough. You don't need to be so formal. You've successfully argued against Arya Steelwind. Perhaps I misjudged you. I know I agreed to fight this, but what is it? You're the most qualified attorney in the nobility. You'll definitely be able to make a case for yourself. As you probably know, House Sybil controls the legislative and judicial branches of our kingdom. They've nominated my father as the prosecutor for my trial. What? No one believes my theory of mind control. Everyone believes that I overspent my magic and gave myself mage blight. As a result, they blame House Steelwind for Coraline Sybil's death. Now, the only way for him to redeem House Steelwind is to convict me and sentence me to death. But he's your father! There's no way he would... This isn't the first time something like this has happened. When I was a child, my mother accidentally overused her magic and induced mage blight within herself. In her resulting psychotic episode, she massacred an entire village of commoners. No. House Steelwind almost lost everything after that. To redeem himself, my father personally oversaw my mother's trial and her execution. That's... My father values his duty to Ivengard over everything else. Nothing matters more to him than that, not even his family. I want to have confidence in myself, but I don't know if I can face him like this. Mr. Cuthbert, what is your stake in all of this? What? You hate the nobility, don't you? So why are you so intent on helping Miss Steelwind? Because she's innocent! I know she is! She would never be irresponsible enough to give herself Mage Blight. Mr. Cuthbert, it doesn't matter if she's a noble or a commoner. She's being oppressed by the system, and she deserves a fair trial. Well said. What? I, Remus Virgile, hereby grant you the privilege to serve as Miss Steelwind's counsel. Wait, really? I will be acting as the judge and arbiter of Miss Steelwind's trial. It is within my right to grant such permissions. Thank you. But why would you... Do you think I've made a mistake? No, of course not. I'll serve as Steelwind's attorney, if she'll have me. Of course. There's no one I trust more with this. And please, you've done a lot for me already. You don't have to be so formal. Please call me by my first name. Celeste has already taken to doing that. But since you'll be defending me, you'll probably need this. Aria's Spell Compendium. Firebolt. Hold creature. Steelwind. Ah! The ultimate spell of House Steelwind. Hell yeah. Oh! I was trying to make sure I had the right word for pierce and search the definition to check clamor and clamor. Or for a piece. Oh my god. Has the whole game just been leading up to this joke? Has the entire fact... Has the entire fact that their name is House Steelwind been leading up to the joke on the spell Steelwind Strike? Because that's amazing. For anyone who doesn't know, Steel Space Wind Space Strike is a, clamor. Huh. That's a wild definition for clamor, yeah. But for anyone who's not familiar, Steel Wind Strike is a D&D spell in which you do a bunch of quick attacks on a group of people. And it is absolutely hilarious that Steel Wind Strike is the ultimate spell of House Steelwind. Polymorph. Aha! Fucking called it! Fucking called it! Dispel magic. And it's settled. We will hold the trial at my home, the city of Leighton. Leighton? I've never heard of that place. Speak with Lucio. He knows the location well. Before you can ask any more questions, the Archduke leaves without a word. He really has a bad habit of just walking away from conversations, and I guess we should consider ourselves lucky. Even if it's unorthodox, the situation will let us approach this like any other trial. Good night, Tej. You had no idea what you were in for when you agreed to this. And what proceeded next would be unlike any trial you've ever been in. But even so, you persevered as you've always done in the name of justice, regardless of what you'd have to sacrifice to do so. What? Anyway, we've definitely lost. Oh. Anyway, I think that is where we're going to call it for tonight, because that made a very good stopping point, and there's no way I'm finishing this case tonight. So, thanks for hanging out, everyone. If there's anyone who's been hanging out and wants to drop us a follow, we always really appreciate those. Join our Discord there. Find the entirety of this playthrough on our YouTube there. And we have our Clips channel, which we post to there. Thank you for the 10 minutes of the stream. Thanks for coming by, Velvet. Next up on the schedule, we got D-Boss on Tuesday. Always a good time. And yeah, I believe that's all I've got for tonight. So thanks for coming by, everyone. Have a good night. I hope you've had a good weekend. Sending good washer vibes. I think it's too late for good washer vibes. But anyway, good night, all. Thanks for hanging out. Peace. Okay, so like I finally dropped the thing where I end stream as soon as I say the word outro, but now I don't have a good way to end stream. So anyway, I think that's what we're gonna call it for